back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
We need money. We need money. Talking about money, money, money. We need some money. We need moolah, y'all. We need moolah, y'all.
Well, there's a song that I think all of us can get right behind. It's called We All Need Money. It's by Chuck Brown. It's Boomer Life here on CIL 650. Nice to have you with us this Saturday morning. Also with us is Jillian Fullerton, Sales and Marketing Manager at Baptist Housing's Shannon Oaks here in Vancouver. And also a real treat to have Fred Snyder a day early on the radio this weekend. He's the host of It's Your Money, Sunday mornings from 9 to 11 here on CIL. Fred, you were out at Shannon Oaks making a presentation to the residents just a few short days ago.
Yes.
What did you talk about?
Well, it basically talked about financial planning, the fact that the reason people fail financially is because they lack knowledge and they don't have a plan. I think everybody who wants to be successful financially needs a plan and they need knowledge, and I provide that.
Now, you're talking to a group of people who are probably easily 65 plus, probably 70 plus, and many into their 80s. Yeah. So this is a different age group in terms of plans
and it's
so
a little
on.
tougher to talk to these people
I'm
than
sure
it
it
is
is.
the broader spectrum of society.
And they're a fairly no-nonsense crowd as well.
One lady came up to me and she said, I have a portfolio. I lost $37,000 last month. Okay, now, you can imagine if anybody has a portfolio, anybody, I don't care if they're young or old, if they lose $37,000 and they're dependent on the income from that portfolio to pay the rent, she's got to be worried.
Sure.
She's out of her comfort zone.
Right.
And I say that people who have a portfolio of securities should have that portfolio analyzed. They need a second opinion. It's like an MRI or a GPS or an X-ray. So the portfolio is measured. Is it too risky? Is it not risky enough? What's the expected rate of return, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Elderly people who are in senior living facilities need income.
Absolutely.
Ultimately, everybody needs income at some time or another during their lifetime. So we grow capital early in life so that capital will generate income later in life. And we want that income to live as long as we do.
Absolutely.
So you got to tie it into health, too. Hence the exercise classes.
That's right.
That you guys do. I was very impressed, Jillian.
Good. Jillian, how frequently do you, because we've talked about other guests that you've invited into Shannon Oaks to make presentations to the residents. How frequently you do that? To get people like Fred Snyder to pop by and speak to the gang?
Well, we have downsizing seminars, financial seminars. This is the first one, and that was really good to do, and that we'll do it again because it was important to get that information to them. We're having a health and wellness fair coming up on the 18th.
That's right.
So we're having all sorts of people speak to that, an audiologist, a denturist, a foot care nurse, just all sorts of dementia, Alzheimer's. So we're having that on the 18th. That's Tuesday. So we have all those information type meetings to keep our residents informed as to what's happening out there.
Right. Fred, after you made your presentation to the group, I'm sure, being a courteous sort of individual, you allowed for some questions and answers.
No question.
What did people want to know in addition to what you had already told them?
Well, basically, I think what everybody wants to know is, what is my chances of running out of money? Is my money going to last as long as I do? I say this all the time. It's not about how much you make that counts. It's about what you keep. If you make a lot of money and you spend it all, and you don't have any money, you can't move into Shannon Oaks.
Right.
You need enough money working for you to generate an income to be able to pay the rent. And people who are elderly are in a position where they are mortified about market meltdowns. Back in 2008, the Toronto Stock Exchange declined 50%.
Yes.
Okay, 50%.
A lot of people got really hurt by that, too.
And they did stupid things. They sold out at the bottom because they were out of their comfort zone.
Right.
Because they had the wrong portfolio. It wasn't well designed for their comfort zone, etc. They didn't understand a whole bunch of issues. So you need to be able to take what you have, the investments that you own, and analyze those investments and say, how risky are these investments? And does that risk suit my profile? It's like a suit when you buy. Does it fit or not? Is it suitable? Okay, and what's the expected rate of return? So if you have a a solid portfolio, you should expect a rate of return from that portfolio of a minimum of 5%. And you can get some guarantees of that 5% and other situations where it's not guaranteed, where it could be 4, it could be 12. But ultimately, if you're dependent on the income from that portfolio and you want that income to live as long as you do, and you want to be able to stay at a place like Shannon Oaks, the guarantee of that income and the certainty of that income and the predictability of that income is extremely important.
Right, right.
And that's what I provide, because it's like I have a financial warehouse of financial products. And I represent all the financial products that are out there, just about all, not quite.
I
but
was going
almost
to ask
all of
you,
them.
these people, elderly people, to use your phrase.
Yes.
In many cases, I'm thinking of my mom now. She's 92, Fred.
She's elderly.
Yes, she is like her demographic cohort. She is a child of the Great Depression.
Sure.
Grew up with absolutely nothing. So these people, that particular age group, are savers. They had nothing when they grew up, and everything that they accumulated throughout their lives, they taught themselves to save. So how difficult is it to convince someone who's a saver to become an investor?
It's not easy.
I'll bet.
It's not easy. It's difficult. But really, the reason people fail financially, I have 13 reasons that I've identified why people fail financially, but number one is lack of knowledge. If we had more knowledge, we wouldn't make any of the other mistakes that we already make. I didn't learn about compound interest until I was 35. I had an insurance salesman when I was 17 come and was referred to me by my mom, sold me a whole life insurance policy for $5 a month and told me it was going to make me rich. And I believed him. It's impossible.
Sure.
Okay? And they should be teaching us in school about financial fundamentals, and they don't. But again, we get into people who are at or near retirement, or they're in retirement right now and they're elderly. They don't have the same motivations. But their primary motivation is to make sure their income lasts as long as they do. That's the key. And to make sure they have enough.
Jillian, you were talking a few minutes ago, and you're kind of giggling with Fred there about some of the astronomical costs that some of the seniors communities insist on charging their residents. Shannon Oaks, I countered is pretty reasonably placed on the price list. Can we talk specifics here? What approximately? Because there are single bedrooms, one bedroom plus den, there's 2 bedrooms, there's studios. So
no, there's no studios.
No studios,
We
okay.
have no studios.
But there are ranges of floor plans that offer slight variation in cost.
We have a lovely courtyard that is full of cherry blossoms in the summer and all sorts of, beautiful plants, a waterfall, 2 putting greens. If you have an apartment overlooking that, it's probably a little bit more.
Okay, all right.
A little bit more. You
get what you pay for now, don't you?
Yeah, so there are some really prized apartments that people would love to have.
Right.
Basically, what the rents start, and that you have to remember what it includes.
Right,
it includes all your food. So put that on your comparison
Underline
sheet.
all several times. All your food.
All meals.
Okay.
All meals.
Right.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks, morning and afternoon.
Right.
Plus other special things we have. We have parties, and we do special things. So it includes all your food. It includes weekly housekeeping, so they come and clean your apartments.
Right, sure.
It includes your heat, your light, your electricity, everything. Does not include your telephone. It includes your cable vision. It includes all our bus trips out and our exercise classes, all of the information sessions we have, so you're stimulated and have all sorts of things happening. It includes all of that.
Right.
And the rents start at $35.50 a month,
Wow.
$3,550. And it includes all of that. So you can get a 2-bedroom for early 4,000, 48, I think it's, 48 is 2-bedroom. 1-bedroom and den is around 38.
Okay.
So it all depends on what you're looking for.
Right.
So those are all inclusive rents. So if you take that figure over to Fred Fred would be able to say, all right, with that here, we can plan.
This is where we get the money.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
And I guess the thing that you would be most pleased by, Fred, is that these are firm numbers. It's not going to cost more for food in February than it will in December or anything. These are fixed numbers that you can plan long term with.
The numbers are reliable, they're predictable, and they're potentially inflation adjusted.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about, speaking of inflation, what about increases on rent on an annual basis or any of that kind of? Is there a policy on that,
There
Jillian?
is generally an increase every year on your anniversary date. So
Okay.
if you move in December, the following December, there could be an increase.
But they're not
It's
going to double
tied-
it for you.
No,
right?
no, it's tied to the Consumer Price Index.
Okay.
So if it's 2.5%, 3%, it could be 3% or 3.5%. So
Right.
it's maybe just a little bit more than the CPI.
But if you have an investment plan that's inflation adjusted, the income will increase to compensate.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So if they're right, so if your investment portfolio is sensitive to the CPI and
You got it.
inflation
Exactly.
and rises accordingly, that takes care of any
taken
rent
care of it.
increases.
Now,
And
we
if-
didn't have an increase last year.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Well,
no
that's
increase.
always welcome
Our
news.
residents were just delighted.
I'm sure they were.
They bought a few extra Christmas gifts.
And if anybody if anybody comes to me, I can crunch the numbers. I can provide them with the exact numbers, a template which will show year after year after year what they are.
Right, and that can project an inflation rate of X out over the next 5,
You
10,
might
or even
want to
more
you
years.
might want to assume 1%, 2%,
Sure.
whatever you
Yeah.
make the assumption, because
Right.
we don't know for sure what inflation is going to be.
Well, you know, there are a lot of variables. There are a lot of unknowns. And as we get older in life, some of those unknowns loom a little larger than they need to be and get a little frightening.
Yeah.
And whether that's
Yeah.
a change of address from your home to a Shannon Oaks type seniors community, or whether it's just investing instead of saving, all those sorts of dramatic changes are even more so when you're older and a little less able to be flexible.
Exactly.
You can't go out and get another job, or
Yeah.
oh, I'll just
Yeah.
throw a little, I'll work on the weekends, and
Oh, yeah.
that'll take care of everything. It's not going to happen when you're in
No,
your 80s,
no,
is it?
It's not.
So all of this predictability is valuable in so many ways. In addition to being a wonderful place to live, you can move in knowing that you can actually afford to stick around and really just have some fun here.
Yes. Yes.
And that's really what it's all about. And,
Isn't it?
That's it right there. Can I afford it? That's
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I afford to move into Shannon Oaks?
Mm-hmm.
How can I find the answer to that question?
Yeah. That's right.
Call me
Right.
or call Jillian.
Yeah.
Well, we need to take a break. But Fred, when we come back, you alluded in our opening segment to a strategy that you have, which would involve people who are currently still in the home,
Yes.
their home, and ways and means to leverage that existing home into a carefree life
Yeah.
at Shannon Oaks with plenty of loot in the bank to boot. And we'll get to the details of that, and we'll get more from Jillian Fullerton from Shannon Oaks when we return on Boomer Life, right here on CIL 650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.